All right, so what are the right and wrong ways to set up conversion tracking? First of all, most people don't even bother setting up conversion tracking. So number one wrong way is not even setting it up at all. In this video, we're going to walk through how to set up conversion tracking, what your options are, and then the different stages or levels of conversion tracking that I might set up for a company, depending on how much they're spending and how complex their conversion tracking needs to be. Number one, just getting basic conversion tracking in place is a huge help for just visibility into actions post-click and post-impression. You want to have your form submits at the very basics tracked, and then it's very nice to have CRM pipeline stages so you can see if deals are moving through the pipeline and if ads are helping impact that. And then past that, depending on the account and depending on how much website activity is being used, often we'll start to add in page visits, starting with key page visits such as pricing pages, demo pages, and then other pages from there. So let's run through the options when it comes to conversion tracking. Before I do that, usually like what we look for, sometimes we're creating a lot of conversion events into an account because there's a lot of things that we need to see. So what you'll do is inside the account, you go to break down conversions to see how all those conversions are happening on these different campaigns. You can see there's different events that we've been using, such as view events for key pages, and then demo request events, pricing request events, and you can see we have each and last listed here. So this is a more advanced account. There's a lot going on with it here. We want to be able to see both each touches and last touches. I'll get into more of that in a second. So to set this up, I'm going to go into a tester account here and just go to the conversions tracking page, signals manager, the measurements page, conversion tracking. Going here, you'll see the options. You'll click create conversion, and then insight tag conversion. You'll need to have the insight tag on your website to be able to track conversions with that, and then you can see your options from there. So you'll come in, you'll start to name your conversion event. So you might make it form submit, categorize conversion. It might be a lead conversion. This is if you want to give it a value. The category doesn't really affect it at all. Just on the back end, if you want to aggregate different types of events together, that's where it can be useful. The qualified lead event does play into LinkedIn's new qualified lead optimization, so you can use that. Otherwise, the rest of them don't really matter what you choose. Again, on the back end, if you want to aggregate all your lead types or all your download types, you can do that based on event type. Next is the value of the conversion. You can give it the same value for all. If you know this purchase is going to be the same amount every time, you can use a dynamic value, so that can be passed in via the API, or you can use no value. It depends what we're doing. For these purposes here, I'm just going to give it a value of 1. Next is the attribution window. This is how long after a click and how long after a view do you want this conversion to be tracked. If somebody sees an ad and then 2 years later they submit a form, that's probably not attributable to the ad, so you're outside of that attribution window. But if somebody clicks and then converts within 30 days, then that'll be tracked to this event. Same with views. There's different windows here, so you can set these views differently. The standard's 37. It depends what the event is. If it's a bottom of funnel event, I'm going to make these windows a little bit longer, such as submit a form, request a demo. If it's a very short thing like download an asset or a page view, I'm going to make these windows shorter. Now, next is the attribution model that you're going to choose. So there's last touch each campaign and last touch last campaign. This is probably where most people make mistakes. By default, it selects last touch each, and then it's going to count a conversion for every campaign that touched that person before the event happened within the window. So very often this is the default setting, and then people start to see a lot of form conversion events appear because there's one on every campaign that touched that person before they convert, but it skews your data because it's not unique. So it's not one event in total for each form submit. It's like multiple events for that form submit. So very often for basic setup, we're just going to use last touch, last campaign. So only the last campaign that touched this person will count a conversion event when that conversion event happens. That said, there are times when for more advanced setups, we'd like to use both, where we like to have our last touch last campaign so I can see that what campaign was the last touch and know that conversion event's going to give me the total number. And then I also want to see last touch each campaign because I'm probably going to have retargeting set up somewhere so that I want to know which campaigns that person went through to finally convert in the end. So often we'll combine these. But start with just last touch last at the very basic setting, and then as you get a little more advanced, you can use each of these. Then moving to the next step, website actions, you can choose from pages that already exist there and buttons that already exist there. You can set up your own manual conversions. So you can do it on a page load. This is the most reliable to do a page load. So after somebody submits a form, then they would go to a thank you page, and then you want to trigger based off that thank you page URL. And often I like to do contains because you could have UTMs on the end. So very often I like to do whatever that URL is going to be. So say it's speedworksocial.com/, call booked thank you. You need to know what those URLs are going to be. There's a lot of technical things that can change over time. You might have www, or you might not. You might not. So I usually just do the domain name / and then the URL, because there might be UTMs in the end of this. There might be hashtags in the end of this. And then from there, you have your final page here before you click create. And then that's how you set up your conversion events. There's a lot more to this. There's some other videos on our YouTube channel that go even more in depth on conversion tracking, but this is the very basic setup. So once you have that in place, the next step that we often go to is adding those page view conversion events. So if I go back from here, I might do like key page view for these, and then I can start to set it up that if somebody makes it to just my pricing page, then I want to track how many people and who visit that page. Number one, for retargeting, and then also it's going to show me which campaigns are driving the most people to the pricing page, maybe the demo request page, because this is a precursor to actually requesting pricing or requesting a demo. So it can be useful to have this data and see which campaigns are driving people the furthest, because maybe then that will show me who's making the furthest and then most likely to make it to the next step after that. So that's conversion tracking setup. Once you are comfortable with conversion tracking, the next level that we often go to is using the LinkedIn revenue attribution report. This is a newer report from LinkedIn that will connect your Salesforce or HubSpot all the way to LinkedIn Impact. So let me jump over to this. You have to have a business manager account. They're free to create. And then you'll go inside a business manager, and then you'll connect your Salesforce or your HubSpot. If I jump over to this page here, you can see that connect your account. Your options are Salesforce, HubSpot, or Microsoft Dynamics. And then from there, it'll pull in that deal data based on who are those companies, what are the opportunities, and it'll track back to impressions and engagement to those deals and opportunities, and then to that closed one. Because in your CRMs usually only know about click data and lead data, because somebody has to click on a URL, the CRM's got to see that URL, or they got to see that lead to then show up there. So just on-platform clicks and video views and impressions are never seen in the CRM usually. So you have to use something like the revenue attribution report to start to see that visibility. So you'll connect your this way. And then once you have it connected, then you go to the revenue attribution tab. I'll show you a live account here. But inside of here, you have a few different options: the date range, if you have multiple ad accounts, the look back window, attribution type, and then attribution model. So this is super interesting. CRM lead is the default option. So this means that the actual person saw or clicked on ads and then became an opportunity, and then that data will show up here. You can switch to company, which will show maybe it's not that exact person, but person A at company saw or clicked on ads, and then that company later closed, but maybe that person wasn't tagged to the actual opportunity. Some of this depends on how your CRM set up. You need to have that data in your CRM. You need to have those companies and have those leads attached to that company. I've seen a lot of CRMs where they might not use the lead data, or they don't have all that workflow set up so that data tracks through. It might just be the company. You don't know the leads. So sometimes you need to flip between these. But CRM lead means that actual person clicked on ads and then became an opportunity and then became a closed one. Last option here is any impression counts as a touch. This is the default setting. It does take the most credit where, they just saw an impression and then they could have become an opportunity or become a closed one sale, which is a little bit too easy. So usually I like to filter down to either many impressions. This is for more demand gen accounts. We're doing more brand awareness advertising. I'll use many impressions count as a touch, because maybe we're not looking to drive traffic and might not have as many engagements, but we're just delivering a lot of impressions to filter on. And you can see that the numbers will kind of shrink a little bit because it detects fewer people who saw many impressions and then took some action. And then if it's a account where we are driving traffic, we are capturing leads and other things like that, then I'll use any engagement counts as a touch. This means that they clicked on an ad and then took those actions after that. So this dashboard is great because it gives you visibility into the impact from LinkedIn ads that you don't have otherwise. It does take a lot of credit, because we're not saying like LinkedIn was the sole reason that these deals became opportunities and became closed. Keep that in mind. But LinkedIn did reach companies that did end up closing, so likely had some impact. And especially if that person is clicking on ads, that's some impact that's getting them to become an opportunity and close. So very useful stats to have here. This is the level 2, just to give you visibility into this stuff. And then past this, if you are a bigger company, an enterprise company, you're doing lots of different marketing channels, how do you get all these together so that you can identify what's really working between all your different channels? From there, you need to use a more advanced platform. There's a lot of newer ones out there like Dream Data or Hockey Stack that can bring in all these different channels, and then you can start to see all the impacts of all the different channels leading to your closed sales. This is LinkedIn's report here. It just shows LinkedIn data because it's a built-in LinkedIn report. That's all the data that this report can see. But if you jump over to a Dream Data report, this is where you can look at these deals and opportunities and start to see the path that they go through and all the people involved that might have seen your ad, gone to your website, seen different things. So you can start to see where ad impressions play into the mix here. You can start to see where organic engagement plays into the mix here. And this can be very telling for what's the path that deal went through to becoming an opportunity in close one across all your different channels. If you have Google connected, if you have Meta connected, if you have email connected, you will see those dots showing up here on a timeline, and boom, that's the prospect journey. And that's super insightful for learning where are most customers coming from and then becoming opportunities in close one. What are they seeing that then gets them over the line? Use that data to then inform your campaigns. So these are the different levels of conversion tracking that we'll set up. At the very basic level, we'll set up form submit conversion tracking. Level 2 is adding in each and last conversion tracking. Level 3 is adding in page views so that you can see who's going to the pricing page, who's going to these high intent pages. Next level is the revenue attribution report, where you're going to see CRM opportunities, sales data tied back to LinkedIn impressions and click data. And then finally is using a more advanced platform like a Dream Data or a hockey stack to start to see how all your different channels play together. This is super useful for if you're running any kind of campaigns, whether it's LinkedIn or multiple channels. All right, so that's the run through on everything conversion tracking. I'm sure there's probably more and other things that I'm missing here just from this quick video. Let me know your thoughts, if there's any other tips or tricks that you've found success with, or how these tools have worked for you in the past. And we'll go from there. Alrighty.